So hey, what's up guys? This is gonna be a video explaining why I have been gone for so long. Great! So pretty much I have been gone for a long time because of medical problems. Emphasis on the medical. So this all pretty much started, sorry my sister's in the kitchen and I'm in the living room, so I'm here. This all pretty much started about 2 years ago. And I was on this medication called nortriptyline, which was supposed to help with my migraines, which I have hereditary migraines, so I get them a lot, and one of the side effects of it was I kept getting dizzy. And when I got dizzy, I'd fall, and my vision would get really bad, and I'd end up hitting my head and stuff like that. So I went off medication. And so after I went off medication, I had told him, like my neurologist, that it was causing me to get dizzy, so he took me off of it and he gave me a new medication called Topamax. Topamax has a side effect that I wasn't aware of at the time of loss of consciousness. I wasn't aware of this. It was great. But I was continuing to get dizzy after going off nortriptyline. So we had gone to the hospital a couple times. They told us everything was fine. I just need to drink more water, and as an athlete that I am, I had already been drinking a gallon of water a day. So there was it was utterly confusing why I'd need to drink more water, because grown adults are supposed to drink a gallon of water a day. I'm a 14-year-old. This all started around when I was 12. But I was continuously getting dizzy while I was on Topamax, while I was off of it, while I was off of nortriptyline, and I had just stopped making a deal out of it. I'd get dizzy, but I'd just ignore it. And after a year and a half, I think, I had passed out. Okay, so sorry, I'm talking really weird because I'm very dizzy right now. But I had been getting dizzy, and it was just a normal thing. So one day, and it was about a year and a half into this problem, I was sitting up in my bed, it was in the morning, so I was sitting in my bed, and my mom had called to see if I was awake. So I had got up and walked out of my room. I had gotten off my bed. I was not laying down, so it wasn't like a head rush kind of thing. I was just sitting down, and I stood up. And I had sat there and walked into the hallway, and there was a step stool there on the side of the hallway where there was a wall, and it was leaning against the wall. And so let's just say the living room entrance is right here. I was right here. The hallway was leading into the living room, and I was right here at the entrance to the living room from the hallway. And I had stopped, apparently, and I just got really pale-faced, and I fell and grabbed the step stool and pulled it down on top of me. And I don't remember this. I, honest to God, did not remember leaving my room. I just remember waking up, and I was on the floor in my mom's arms with the step stool on top of me, crying. And at the time, I didn't realize that was my mom. I didn't realize where I was. And eventually, it came back to me. I'm like, that's my mom. I'm fine. I'm not in danger. I'm not going to get hurt. And I calmed down and stuff, and they had taken me to the couch, and then after I started to feel better, they took me to the emergency room. They told me what everybody else has told me, including all of my doctors and everybody in the emergency room, that I was just that I didn't have signs of dehydration. I just needed to eat more, and I needed to drink more water. But I needed to drink more and I needed to eat more. So I followed the instructions, and I continued to faint and black out for months. But a lot of the time, I never told my parents about it, which was a huge mistake because it just continued to happen, and when it first had happened, when I woke up, it looked like my mom saw her daughter get killed in front of her face. And that made me feel so bad. And I hated the way that made my mom feel. So, when I'd black out, I wouldn't tell my parents, because most of the time, my parents are in the living room or in their room. And my family is just like, my brother is in his room, my little brother's in his room, and my sister's in her room. Most of the time, I stay in the living room with my parents because I hang out with my parents a lot, more than my siblings do. And so I'd just like get up and I'd walk around for a few minutes, like do my hair and stuff like that, or put my hair up, and I would pass out. But not saying my parents did anything wrong, because this was a normal thing for me. I'd do it even when I was like not having any medical problems. I would do this even, that was a normal thing I'd do. I just randomly get up and start doing stuff, because I have a very short attention span, so I can watch a movie. Like 5 minutes into the movie, I'll get up and start doing something weird. It's just, I have very tiny attention span. So I'd get up and I'd black out after walking around too long, and I just wouldn't tell my parents, because I didn't want to make them scared, because honest to God, I was scared, and I didn't want them to feel that way. A lot of the time I was scared I was going to pass out, or I was scared I was going to get hurt, but if I had fallen and I had hit my head, I would just take an ibuprofen to help with the pain, and I'd not tell anybody, because I'd keep it a secret. I didn't want them to know what was wrong with me. And after months of doing this, I had my mom, and she had a cyst on her ovaries, which she had to be hospitalized for, along with other problems. So it was like the second day she was hospitalized and admitted to the hospital. I had gone to visit her and I came home. It was later at night and I had passed out in the car, but it looked like, my cup is purple, but it looks blue in the camera. I had passed out in the car, but it looked like I fell asleep. So my dad didn't really acknowledge it, and so when I came to, I just pretended like I fell asleep. So I had gotten home and I was tired and I was still kind of out of it from passing out, so I went to go to my room, and my dad was like in the living room or something, or in the kitchen, and I had passed out in the hallway, and that was a lot closer than they had ever been. That they were within the same hour of passing out. There's only an hour difference, and that had never happened because I'd pass out like maybe once a week, or like once every 2 days. They were never that close. They were never within an hour away from each other. They were never within a day away from each other. They were always like a day apart, at least. And so when this happened, my dad got concerned. He was shaking me, trying to get me to wake up, because this was the first time my dad has ever seen me pass out. And I kind of just, when I came to, I knew that I couldn't really hide it. I couldn't hide that one. So I kind of just I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I just must not have had enough water today. And then I kind of like walked it off and stuff like that. And I had gone to go to bed. And then it was the next day. That day I had sat there, and I wake up around 5 o'clock every day. And so does roughly my dad. And I had been getting ready, so I'd gone immediately to bed last night, so I didn't have my outfit ready today, because I normally do prep what I'm going to wear the next day. So I was like running around trying to find what to wear, and I had ended up passing out again, which was not good, because they were too close, and I didn't feel it coming on, so I couldn't do anything about it. So I had ended up passing out in front of my dad again. keep in mind, my mom is still in the hospital. And then I had just like blown it off. I'm like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. After sitting down for a couple minutes, I got up and I did my makeup, and then I passed out again. And then I kind of just blew it off, and my dad had saw that I had passed out, and I had passed out again. And that was 3 times within the span of 2 hours. So it was just something was obviously wrong, and so my dad had sat there and he had called me out of school. And then I continuously passed out like 7 times that day, which had never happened. And I then had the next day I passed out, and I passed out, and so it kept pulling me out of school. And then when mom finally came home, I was still passing out, and she knew about this, but she never really saw it happen again. So I had, after a while of this happening and me missing school because of it, they had put me on independent studies so I wouldn't pass out at school, and like, because they could get in trouble for that, so the school didn't want me there. So I was on independent studies for a month, per doctor's request. After that, the doctor requested that I was put on independent studies for longer. And so I ended up, the doctors told me that I had something called syncope, which pretty much a fancy word for fainting. So I had, because the school can't put me on independent studies for longer than a month, so what had happened is I had sat there, and when I went back to school, I had, when I started feeling dizzy, I would just go home, because they didn't want me fainting at school. And then eventually my doctors took me off of Topamax because one of the side effects was fainting and loss of consciousness. So that was not healthy. So they took me off of it, and it helped a little. I went down from like 7 to 8 times fainting a day to maybe 4 times a day. I faint 4 times a day, or like less or more, a little, but not that many times. So it continuously happened until about, it happened till the end of the school year, which there was like 3 weeks until the end of the school year when I got off my independent studies. So it was closer to the end of the school year. So I had gone to school. Obviously, I wasn't staying in school the entire time because I could barely make it through the day. And throughout this entire time where I was fainting and stuff, I would have this excruciatingly painful thing, like my legs. And it was the first time that I realized pushing myself as hard as I could maybe could have gotten me through that day, but it makes me incapable to do everything else the rest of the time. So I've been trying to cope with my medical problems ever since then. I still have my fainting. I sometimes know when I'm going to faint, but I was still having a hard time realizing I had lost the person that I was. That person wasn't me anymore. I wasn't allowed to be her anymore. I wasn't allowed to play volleyball anymore. I couldn't play softball. I couldn't do track. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't be the person that I was. And I'm still trying to deal with that today. And I'm just trying so hard now to do this thing that I can't do. And I'm just tired of not being the person that I was able to be. Because it is so hard not being able to do the things that you love because you can't do them. Because you can't sit there and you can't run because you'll pass out. And you can't sit there and you can't play volleyball and do the thing that you really, really loved because you can't, like, you'll be in pain and it hurts. And it really sucks. And I get so angry at myself, and it is difficult. And I am just done. I act like I'm a completely different person when I'm the same person that they were friends with a month ago. Just, I can't do it anymore. So, I don't even know where this is going anymore. I'm sorry. But, thank you guys so much for watching this video.